In the heart of a lush, vibrant jungle, amidst towering trees and singing brooks, lived a small, remarkably diligent ant named Chintu. Chintu belonged to a sprawling colony, and since her childhood, she had been known for her sharp intelligence and tireless work ethic. She was always the first to scurry out at dawn, the most efficient forager, and a respected member of her industrious family. However, as Chintu grew older, a peculiar corrosive emotion began to fester in her tiny heart. Envy. It started small, a barely noticeable sting, but it grew into a painful, consuming ache that clouded her sunny disposition. Whenever she saw the magnificent peacock, with its iridescent plumage spread in a dazzling, hypnotic dance, she would sigh, a sound barely audible in the forest's hum. "Look at his beauty," she would mutter to herself, a pang of bitterness in her tone. "Everyone stops to gaze at him. Why does no one ever look at me? I am just a speck on the ground." The sight of the graceful butterfly, flitting effortlessly from one blossoming flower to the next on delicate painted wings, would trigger a wave of longing. "If only I could soar with wings," she would think, her antennae drooping. "But I am condemned to crawl, to cling to the dusty earth. My life is a perpetual drag." Her jealousy didn't stop at the traditionally beautiful creatures. Even the nimble squirrel, who could launch herself across vast distances, leaping between branches in the blink of an eye, became a source of resentment. Chintu would watch her, a knot forming in her stomach, thinking how insignificant her own slow, methodical movements were compared to the squirrel's effortless agility. Slowly, insidiously, Chintu's focus began to drift away from her work. The zest and passion that once defined her actions started to wane. Where she had once been the pioneer, the one leading the charge to gather food, she now lagged behind. Her fellow ants, noticing her sudden withdrawal and frequent bouts of melancholy, would often ask, "Chintu, why are you so sad lately? Is everything all right?" But Chintu would simply offer a strained smile and remain silent, unwilling to admit the toxic truth that was eating away at her. She was too ashamed to confess that she hated her existence and envied the gifts of others. The colony's elders noticed the change. They saw a great worker, a natural leader, dimming her own light by comparing it to the brilliance of others. They tried to guide her, but Chintu was trapped in a negative loop, fixated on what she lacked rather than the extraordinary capabilities she possessed. One fateful afternoon, the serenity of the jungle was shattered. A sudden, violent tempest descended upon the land. Gale-force winds ripped through the trees, snapping massive branches, and a torrential downpour turned small streams into raging, muddy torrents. The jungle was plunged into chaos, homes were uprooted, and many animals were caught completely off guard. The beautiful butterfly's wings, soaked and heavy with water, became useless weights. She couldn't lift off the ground and lay shivering, unable to escape the rising water. The squirrel's favorite tree, her home and refuge, was violently torn from the earth. She sat trembling on the muddy, unstable soil, her famous agility rendered obsolete by fear and shock. And the majestic peacock, his colorful, elaborate train, his pride and glory, was matted and heavy, plastered to the ground. He couldn't even fan them out to dry, let alone dance. A desperate cry of panic and distress echoed through the forest. Yet, in the midst of this disaster, one place remained an island of safety, the ant colony. Following generations of instinct and meticulous planning, they had constructed a network of deep, intricate tunnels far beneath the surface, a subterranean fortress impervious to the wind and the flood. They were perfectly safe. Chintu, watching the destruction from a secure opening, was struck by a profound and sudden clarity. The creatures she had envied, the ones whose beauty and gifts she had coveted, were now helpless, their supposed strengths turned against them by nature's fury. Their wings, their agility, their magnificent feathers, none of it offered protection from this elemental threat. A deep sense of shame and a fierce spark of resolve ignited within her. I spent all that time consumed by jealousy, she thought, a tear welling in her eye. I resented them for their gifts, and now they are in dire need. Can I do something? I may not have wings, but I have my strength, my sisters, and my deep tunnels. With the clarity of a true leader, Chintu made a swift, firm decision. She immediately rallied every ant in her section of the colony. "My friends, my sisters," she announced, her voice filled with conviction, resonating with a power that defied her size. "The other creatures of the jungle are in danger. If we work together, if we use the strength and organization we have been blessed with, we can save them all. We must help." The hundreds of ants, galvanized by Chintu's passion and purpose, fell instantly into organized columns. They marched out of the safety of their home and into the storm-ravaged jungle, a small black army of hope. Some ants worked together to carefully lift the waterlogged butterfly onto their backs, carrying her like a precious, fragile cargo to a dry, safe hollow. Others began to gather dry moss and large, intact leaves, constructing a warm, temporary bed for the shivering squirrel. A determined group set about the difficult task of gently cleaning the mud and water from the Peacock's immense feathers, helping him to slowly preen and regain his composure. The jungle animals watched in stunned disbelief. They were overwhelmed by the kindness and incredible coordinated effort of the tiny creatures. They could not believe that such small beings possessed such an immense capacity for courage and compassion. When the rain finally subsided and the golden sun broke through the clouds, bathing the wet forest in a warming light, the animals gathered to express their gratitude. The peacock approached Chintu, his plumage now slowly beginning to dry and regain its color. "Chintu," he said, his voice husky with emotion, "I have displayed my own beauty for years, but I have never seen true beauty like yours, the beauty of a selfless heart. You risked everything for us." The squirrel, now warm and safe, nodded vigorously. "Today, I learned that true strength is not in how high you can jump or how fast you can run. It is in the willingness to serve, to look beyond yourself and lift others up. Your service is the greatest power." And the butterfly, her wings gently fluttering now, smiled warmly at the little ant. "You may not fly and you may not sparkle, but you saved us. You are in every meaningful way above us all." For the first time in her life, Chintu felt a surge of genuine, unadulterated pride. It wasn't the fleeting pride of being better than someone else. It was the deep, sustainable satisfaction of recognizing and utilizing her own inherent worth. She realized she was not just a speck on the ground, but an indispensable part of the forest's delicate ecosystem, capable of acts that even the largest creatures could not accomplish. From that day forward, Chintu never wasted another moment comparing herself to others. She shed the chains of envy forever. She understood that every creature, every single person, has a unique and vital role to play. When we focus on the perceived gifts of others, we weaken ourselves. But when we look inward, recognize our own distinctive strengths, and dedicate them to the service of a greater good, that is when we truly become extraordinary. Being small is not a weakness. A great heart is the only true measure of size. Identify your unique ant strength, be it your intelligence, your diligence, your compassion, or your organization, and commit right now to using that gift to help someone else. You are more than enough. You are essential. Don't wait for a storm to realize your true worth. Go out and be the hero of your own story and the light for another.